All this week, the entertainment spotlight shines on Hawaii with a week-long series focusing on the real impact of the state's booming entertainment industry. And film productions like George Clooney's The Descendants, productions like The River, Lost, and the still casting ABC series The Last Resort help create job opportunities for many islanders across the state. From the people on TV to those behind the scenes, all are a big contribution to making production possible. So what are casting agencies looking for? And joining us this morning to tell us about that is Rachel Sutton of Rachel Sutton Casting and film producer Chris Lee. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, I know, Rachel, that you've been the casting agent for a number of series, Lost, Hawaiiwood, The Descendants, very different storylines for each of them, but can you maybe talk about maybe what's the general principles as a casting agent that you look for? And
it's really all determined by the script, you know. I mean, the writers write it, and we talk about who we want to find here in Hawaii for certain roles. You know, most of the big leading roles, they're going to come from LA, but there's numerous supporting roles that are always going to be cast locally, in addition to like hundreds of extras and background people. So, you know, it really starts there, and, you know, the writing room and what they write for us. And then we kind of dig in and they talk about, you know, okay, so who do you envision playing these characters? You know, man, woman, older, younger, what ethnicity, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, you narrow it down to a certain group of people. And you bring them in, you audition them. I'm sort of just the liaison. I really just give choices to producers and directors. And ultimately, you know, they're the ones that make the first decision. And then there's certain, I call them rings of fire. You know, you have to go through several layers of approval, really, to really finally book a role. You know, at the end of the day, the studios and the networks, they're going to have a final say, and their say is often the last say. So, you know, sometimes you get really far and you have to start over again.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's, you know.
Well, you know that, Chris, you've had your hands in too many films to even mention, but you know that casting is probably very critical to the success of a film, right?
It's crucial. You know, if the audience doesn't accept who you've cast in your movie, then they're not going to accept your film at all. So, you know, I think it's wonderful that we have had so much production in Hawaii, and that a lot of us are looking for ways to increase that production this year. Actually, in the legislature, it's great you're doing this series, because there's a number of bills to increase our incentives, to bring more films here, to actually get a full studio built finally, which will only will help us out.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me about the differences for casting for TV shows and movies. We've got both coming into the islands, which is terrific.
Yeah.
But there is much different needs for both of those.
There is, and a lot of it has to do with, is Hawaii the actual setting for the said film or movie or television show? We have a lot of shows that come out here, and it's not really Hawaii. So we have to be very conscious of that. We have to look for talent who can create a scene that's supposed to be Los Angeles, like on Lost. You know, we were shooting all over the world, supposedly, but everything was done here. So that plays a really big part as to, you know, where is this story actually supposed to be taking place. So that's where it starts. But it's interesting. Television, I think, is a very unique niche. It's a little bit more streamlined, and I don't want to say less creative because it's not really the right word, but they're very there's a certain look to television, whereas with film, you have a much broader range of acceptance in who you can put in front of the camera, per se. So, you know, character types, if you will, are really more accepted in film, per se, versus with television. You know, there's a look that television wants to see. But I think that would be like one of the bigger differences. And then just time management, really. Like with a film, you have many, many months of casting, and you can go through hundreds and hundreds of choices and people and really cast this really wide net and see a ton of people for a particular role, 50 maybe, you know, or whatever. Television, we do not have that luxury at all. We shoot and prep our episodes in about 8 days. Sometimes I have 8 roles to cast in 8 days. That's a lot of people to see and post and get approvals on and book and be ready for day one of filming. So those types of things are like the biggest differences, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, real quickly, what are some of the tips that you can give to those aspiring to want to be actors? Both of you can chime in on this. What can you give people who are going to be going in front of a casting agent?
I think love the craft first and foremost, and there's so much you can do on your own to prepare for stuff, and a lot of it is just with friends, and you get a camera and write little stories and write little scripts or download scripts online. It's all there for you. Shoot yourself. That's a really cheap and easy way to prepare. You will watch yourself on a big screen and know whether that's going to work or not. You know, classes, training, of course, mandatory, really important. But there's usually, I always tell people, there's really roles for everybody. I mean, I cast a lot of roles sometimes that are just 2 lines of dialogue versus a role with 7 pages. So that's going to, you know, there are different talent levels that are going to be appropriate for those types of roles. So there's really chances for everybody, I think. Yeah.
Learn your craft.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of really good teachers in this town that
Yeah.
teach acting.
Yeah.
And you do have to study it. It's
Yeah.
not something you can just wing. And you have to take it seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no small roles, just
Right.
small actors.
Yeah.
That is what I've heard.
Yeah, no, it's true. And you know, you know, it's auditioning is actually the easiest part of it. It's me and you, and we're in a room, and I'm pretty friendly and fun, and it's nice, and there's not a lot of pressure there. But once you get on set and you've got 200 crew and other actors, and they're doing, you know, 10 pages of dialogue that day, and your scene is maybe a half a page, you need to be ready,
Right.
and you need to be able to perform when they say action, because, you know, they've got a big day to make. And
There's a lot of money at stake, too.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, and so that's where the training and all of that stuff really, really is so important, and it comes in, and yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, Chris, for coming
Yeah,
in this
thanks for
morning and
having
sharing
us.
a little bit of the inside on how to get into Hollywood. All right. Don't forget, you can see this interview again by heading over to the morning section of our website, kitv.com/thismorning. It's 6:18. We'll be right back.